Hey, hi, it's Side-Eye. And guess what? We're already at the halfway point of the Scarlet and Violet analysis. We've already tackled so much ground. We've covered the performance, the bugs, the open world, and I'm sure some other stuff. And before we get started, let me take a look at the old itinerary to see what we have left. Ah, shit. Yeah, I'm starting to think that 5 parts wasn't enough to fully dive into every topic regarding this game. But fear not, I've come up with a solution. God, what the f*** am I gonna do? 2 whole parts and I barely scratched the surface! God, if only there was a crutch a lazy and unprepared YouTuber could use when they don't know how to structure their video. Wait. Introducing the Side AI Assistant, a helpful AI that I created myself. Okay, I bought it from Mercari for like 15 bucks, but I programmed it to help with the pacing and structure of this video. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Side AI.
Hello, I am siideeye, and I will be helping Side-Eye with the analysis of the deeper mechanics and features of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet today, and totally will not be hijacking the video in a few minutes' time.
Well, that's reassuring. You see, I trust Side AI here as much as I trust all 5 fingers on my hand. Now, why don't you go ahead and cite our first topic?
Gladly generating. First, we will talk about the Pokédex.
Great choice. What a better place to start than the topic I've been dying to talk about, the Pokédex. Now, this has got to be one of, if not my favorite thing about Scarlet and Violet. There's so many aspects I think they got right about this, I don't really know where to begin. But let's start with the Pokemon themselves. So, Gen 9 adds roughly 120 new Pokemon to the series. And to be honest, a lot of them are hits for me. This video would be way too long if I were to go through every single one, so I'll highlight some standouts. I would say that S&V has a pretty solid lineup of starters, but to me, there was only one option. And of course, it would have to be this stupid friggin' Pepper. In my Legends Arceus video, I said that Fuecoco would be my favorite of the starters in this game. And I would say that I was right on the money. The Fuecoco line has gotta be one of, if not my favorite starter evolution line ever. It starts off with this cute derpy little pepper dinosaur, Fuecoco. And let's be honest, there wasn't any universe where I did not pick this guy. Just look at him. Then you get Crocalor, which is the perfect middle evolution to me. Super awkward and ugly as sin, but made me so interested in what it was going to evolve into, especially with that curious egg on top of its head. And then comes Skeledirge, the ultimate payoff. Everything about it is so cool. It's a big ass fire ghost crocodile that sings with a flaming bird that turns into a microphone when it attacks. This is the type of creativity that I love and expect from Game Freak's character designers. I think my initial reaction says it all, honestly. Yo, oh my god, he's so cool! Oh, I made the right choice. He's a singer? He's a ghost? He's a ghost! Then you got Mousehold, a family of mice that turns child abuse into a gameplay mechanic. Garganackle, a giant salt golem that I had on my team for a good while. I got a lot of use out of its signature move. Bellybolt, a goofy electric frog with a ton of HP and a really fun signature ability that encourages you to take hits to do larger damage. It also helps that I found a shiny one and I used it for my entire DLC playthrough. And it was actually really strong. Shout out to Mello, you're the GOAT. Mabostiff. If you know, you know. Toadsquirrel is a really cool diversion evolution of Tentacruel. It's a big mushroom that walks on its hind legs. And here's a big one, Tinkaton. Man, I was immediately interested in this thing as soon as I saw Tinkatink, its pre-evolved form. Just this pathetic little babby with a steel rattle in its hand. It looks so sad, I named it Triste. And I was not expecting it to turn into the toughest Pokemon I had ever seen. And that's tough with 2 F's at the end, mind you. Tinkaton is this little pink dwarf with a gargantuan 220-pound hammer it uses to knock Corviknight out of the sky with. It's also definitely playing off the small girl with a large weapon trope, which is a really interesting angle. That's also saying nothing about its signature move, Gigaton Hammer, which I used to one-shot many unsuspecting Pokemon. It's cute, it's silly, it's unhinged, it's one of my favorite Gen 9 Mons. 3-State ended up being on my final team for the base game, by the way. You then got Houndstone, which is the evolved form of Greavyard, which I mentioned in the previous video. I love its creepy design and its signature move. It also ended up being on my final team. Titan is another standout. It's a big ass ice whale with one of the best shinies I've ever seen. You then got Annihilate, which is of course a divergent evolution of Primeape. It's a really cool ghost fighting type that somehow managed to make Primeape seem cromulent by comparison. You ever get so mad that you died? And then there's King Gambit, which is a whole new evolution to the Poniard line. Now, I've always loved Vishart, but this new evolution makes it one of my favorite evolutionary lines now. It's definitely supposed to be a Shogun with its large steel mustache and its samurai armor, and I also really like how it continues the chess theme of its pre-evolutions. Just an overall great blend of design decisions. Great stuff. And there's so many other new Pokemon that I love. Goldango, a fitting creature for the 1000th Pokemon title, Dondozo and Tatsugiri, which have a really fun mechanic in double battles, all 4 of the legendary quadruple, which are based on Chinese myth, but that's where I'll leave it for now.
I feel like I'm forgetting something important, something that if you'd followed my internet presence for the last few years, you would have expected me to bring up by now. You think you can help me, Side AI?
Well, according to the algorithm, you're supposed to talk about
Clodsire!
This 500-pound brown salamander is, and I have no amount of doubt when I say this, my favorite Pokemon of all time. Where do I even start? Okay, first, we can all agree that Wooper and Quagsire were already 10 out of 10 designs in the first place, right? There's a reason this line has been memed and loved by the entire fandom for years. So, when they initially revealed Paldean Wooper, I could already tell that Game Freak was cooking up something special for us. And I had big expectations. But I was not expecting the perfection that was the result. Doesn't this image just fill you with joy? They took Quagsire and improved it on every level. The switch from bipedal to quadrupedal is just perfect. I just love how flat Clodsire is. That combined with the derpy expression just makes you want to protect it and cherish it like a newborn baby. Poison is also personally one of my favorite types. I love setting up poison spikes in Toxic, one of my favorite strategies. Speaking of spikes, you see these spots on Clodsire's back? Those aren't just for show. They're also poisonous spines that jut out from its back every time it attacks. The combination of a dumb, silly design with something that is legitimately dangerous and menacing is bar none my favorite design trope in all of Pokemon. And Clodsire just captures that perfectly. I could go on forever. I love its two-tone body. I love its horrendous 20 base speed points. I love its wide mouth. I just love this thing's entire vibe. If I was a Pokemon, I would be a Clodsire. Just a perfect specimen in every aspect. That speaks to me on a personal level. And the new Pokemon aren't the only thing that I love about Scarlet and Violet's Pokedex. I also really like its generation spread when it comes to older Pokemon as well. I feel like for a while there, it seemed like any given new Pokemon region had a high bias when it came to what older Pokemon were chosen to be included in the Pokedex. Especially to Gens 1 and 3. I feel like there hasn't been a single Pokemon game where I hadn't had to deal with Pelipper's annoying ass. But with Scarlet and Violet, I feel like that curse has finally been broken. I realize that this is a very vibes-based and subjective take, but to my eye, the generation spread in terms of returning Pokemon is perfect. Every generation of Pokemon has some substantial representation here. I guess if I was nitpicking, I would say that there's maybe a bit more of Unova Pokemon than others, and a bit of a lack of Galar. But to me, that's really stretching to find any inconsistencies. Honestly, this is the first time ever since the removal of the Natural Pokedex where I don't miss it at all. Like, oh no, I can't transfer Parasect and Carnivine into my game, what will I do? There was never a time when I was playing where I went, man, this is great, but if only Herdier were here. I also want to talk about the Pokédex itself, like the actual presentation of the device in-game, and how amazing and well done it is. One of the best visual touches in this game is whenever you register a new Pokemon to the Dex, an animation plays of a book spinning and being slotted into a digital library. You can then go back and look through these books like you're exploring an actual library. Each of the Pokemon has a unique picture on the cover, and it's fun trying to imagine what each Pokemon's cover is going to look like. And most of the time, they deliver. This is really cool, but also extremely incongruent with the rest of the game. To me, it's so weird that the Pokédex, of all things, is the most stylized and flashy thing in this entire game. I would have liked to see at least 50% of this effort put into other things in this game, but that's just me. And then there's Pokédex milestones, all new to Scarlet and Violet. You see, for every 10 unique Pokemon you catch, you're given a reward. And these rewards vary. It starts off as very simple stuff such as elemental stones and stardust, but the items you get slowly get more and more valuable, especially the special Pokeballs. I've always loved the level balls design, so I was ecstatic that there was a way to get one naturally again. This is such a smart idea that I'm honestly kind of shocked it came from modern Game Freak. One of the most long-standing prevailing jokes in the fandom since like Gen 4 or so is how underplayed and de-incentivized Pokédex completion has been for a while. From the removal of the gotta catch 'em all tagline, and the only consistent reward for completing the damn thing being a piece of digital paper and a shiny charm, it's been clear for a while that Game Freak doesn't really expect most players to register every single Pokemon. But this is honestly a great way to reward players for making progress in the Dex, even if they don't finish it. None of these items are life-changing, but they're valuable enough for the player to see them in the menu and think, maybe I'll be on the lookout for some new Pokemon on the road to my next objective. I mean, who doesn't need a couple heavy balls in their life? And who knows, maybe that Pokemon they catch on the way becomes a new favorite, and then they use it on their team to beat the game with it, and it's their best friend in the world, and shit, where all this merch come from. This is the perfect incentive for Pokédex completion. Actual, tangible, and reachable rewards that string the player along. Well, not actually tangible and reachable, but you know what I mean. Okay, one final thing that I want to bring up in terms of the Pokédex is something I'm a bit more mixed on. You see, in the 120 new Pokemon SNV introduces, a good portion of the last chunk of new Mons is taken up by Paradox Pokemon. Through various plot devices in the story, someone has done some time shenanigans and has brought Pokemon either from the past or the future, depending on what version you're playing. These are Pokemon out of time. Creatures that for all intents and purposes shouldn't be here. And I think they're just okay. First off, you can't even catch these damn things until the ass end of the game. Some even being locked to the post-game of the DLC, well after you have an established team. And I know that a lot of the Paradox Pokemon are very competitively viable, but I don't care about competitive, I want them to be my friends! There's not even a way to evolve or convert your current members into Paradox Pokemon, because yes, these are very much divergent versions of existing Pokemon. Some of them to almost a comical degree, like Fluttermane is just a Mischievous with a little extra. And in terms of which ones I like and which ones I don't, I'm very split. As in split right down the middle, because I really like all the past Paradox Pokemon and really don't like all the future ones. All the Scarlet exclusive Paradox Pokemon are really interesting in what prehistoric creature or concept they're based on. Screamtail is like a caveman version of Jigglypuff. Brute Bonnet is a reference to an extremely old fungus that possibly wiped out the dinosaurs, and various others are based on obscure genuses of dinosaurs that are steeped in archaeological history and lore that I did way too much reading on to make this video. And the future Paradox Pokemon are like,
What if it was a fucking robot?
I'm sorry, these are so boring. They're just robots. Like, I looked through Bulbapedia and so many other sources to find if there's any interpretation of what obscure sci-fi concepts these things could be referencing, and I could only find the most grasping at straws takes imaginable. Like, yeah, Iron Moth could be a UFO. Could also be not. Iron Hands is supposedly supposed to be a defibrillator. I don't really see that, like, at all, but okay. I swear, these are the same people who see Stanley Kubrick's face in the clouds at the beginning of The Shining. But some of these are literally just robot versions of existing Pokemon. Iron Boulder is literally Iron Boulder. Iron Leaves is based on Virizion. Cool story, bro. They're not even interesting robots to look at. Like, yup. That's a mechanical Tyranitar and Gallade, alright. The character design equivalent of room temperature water, or like a towel rack. Like, it's definitely there. It fulfills its purpose well, just doesn't inspire anything in me. I could keep going, but all I want to get across is that I was 100% right to go with Scarlet as my first playthrough. Better Legendary, better Professor, better exclusive Paradox Pokemon.
Wow, that went on long. If you couldn't tell, I was initially going to do a video just on the Pokedex, but thanks to siideeye, I was able to seamlessly integrate it into this video. Thanks, siideeye.
It was nothing. Before we move on to the next topic, may I make a suggestion?
Oh, and what's that?
According to my data, it seems like adding subtitles to these in-between segments would be best for audience retention. I can add them automatically. All I need is your explicit permission to modify the video.
Don't really like the ominous vibe the word explicit adds to that sentence, but you've been such a big help so far. Why not?
Accessing great. We are good to go.
Sounds good. I think maybe next I'll talk about
Picnics.
Oh yeah, picnics.
Okay. What is this game's obsession with sandwiches? There's a whole sandwich making minigame with a ton of different ingredients you can pick from. Koraidon/Miraidon goes crazy for sandwiches. Sandwiches infused with Herba Mystica are actually how you get their upgrades, and so many of the NPCs just won't shut up about them. I mean, I like sandwiches, but not this much. Especially the abominations I make in this minigame. Would you eat this? Is there something about Spanish culture that I'm missing? Are they a particularly sandwich-loving populace? Let your sandwich freak flag fly, Game Freak. Just leave me out of it. But hey, this gives me an excuse to bring up the whole picnic mechanic. You see, at any time in the open world, you can pull up the menu and set down a picnic, where you pull out your whole team of 6 plus Koraidon. From here, you can either do the sandwich making minigame that adds various time-limited buffs depending on the ingredients you use, or interact with your Pokemon in various ways. Very simple stuff. Playing with your Pokemon, throwing a damn ball around, cleaning. It's Wash Your Monkey Monday somewhere. But honestly, just controlling the player character around your full team does it for me more than it probably should.
Not like that, you freak.
Seeing all your Pokemon emote and walk around each other is just really cute to me. It's weird. All the prospects and implications the idea of an open world Pokemon inherently brings. And this is low-key the stuff that makes me the most excited. Just chilling out with your team. I like to see my team as my little family, so this mechanic really warms my heart. But this mode is also the new home of the breeding mechanic. That's right, gone are the days of daycare centers. Now the Pokemon f*** right in front of your eyes, just as God intended. Okay, they don't actually, but that's basically the implication. Because now, breeding is super simplified. All you need is 2 compatible Pokemon in your party, then open up a picnic, and every once in a while an egg mysteriously appears. Biological concerns aside, this is a really interesting change to the system. Breeding has basically functioned the same for the last 25 years, and all of a sudden they randomly changed it. I'm not even really sure if I prefer it this way or not. I feel like it takes a lot more time for eggs to show up than it used to. Even with the Oval Charm and the Egg Power Sandwich effect, I feel like there were times where I was waiting multiple minutes for one egg. But I appreciate Game Freak's ability to actually try something new with a mechanic like this.
There actually are a few things that got a weird mechanical overhaul in Scarlet and Violet. For example,
Music.
what?
The algorithm has determined that it would be best to talk about the music now.
Sorry. Almost got carried away and made a natural transition into the next topic. Silly me. Let's talk about music now.
It's okay. Yeah, honestly, I don't have much to say about the music of Scarlet and Violet. It's pleasant enough, but not really all that memorable to me. Should've just cut it from the top of the list, to be honest. Oh, whatever. We're here. Might as well go a little in depth. I feel like this is the most 5 to 6 out of 10 soundtrack they put in a Pokemon game. A lot of it is kind of folky, which makes sense considering you spend most of your time in what is basically the Spanish countryside. But it's not really my thing. To my ear, most of the OST is a bit overproduced as well. Like, there's way too much going on in the music compared to what's on screen. Like, you do not need to be doing all this for a Psyduck battle. There were also some songs that really got on my nerves after a while. But there are some standout tracks, and I'll put them on screen now, just like I did in the Legends Arceus video. We also need to know what newborn got sacrificed so that Ed goddamn Sheeran could be a canon part of the main Pokemon series. I think my initial reaction says it all.
Alright, so that is the end of Pokemon Scarlet. Wow, okay. Is that fucking Ed Sheeran? What the heck? That is Ed Sheeran. Why is Ed Sheeran in a mainline Pokemon game?
Calculating. The next topic is terastallization.
Oh man, I've always dreamed about talking about the fourth most unique thing about Scarlet and Violet.
Don't get a f***ing tone with me.
Yes, ma'am.
Ah yes, another modern Pokemon game, another batch of long-ass animations I can't skip. Yep, it's Terastallization, the new battle mechanic that makes S and V special. Ish. You see, ever since Gen 6, every mainline game has had a special once-a-battle mechanic. X and Y had Mega Evolution, a feature that I remember loving at the time, but as time went on, I've cared about it less and less for some reason. I think the reason why I liked them at first came down to the excitement of seeing what the quote-unquote fourth evolution of all these classic Pokemon would be. And while some of them were great, a lot of these designs are kinda underwhelming. I just can't bring myself to say that I like a lot of these. I mean, when was the last time you thought of Mega Pidgeot? Be honest. But of all these gimmicks, I can see why people look back at Mega Evolution fondly today. Even though I don't really like a lot of these designs, I can't deny that it's a concept with a lot of meat on its bones. Unlike the rotting carcass that is Z-Moves! The less said, the better. And then, in Gen 8, we got Gigantamaxing and Dynamaxing. First up is Dynamaxing. One press of the button and boom, obesity. Your Pokemon gets big, you get a bit more HP, you get access to a couple unique moves. And a couple very specific moves don't work against you.
Oh. Woo. Almost thought this was a dumb gimmick for a second.
But wait, that's not all. We also have Gigantamaxing. It's the exact same thing, but select Pokemon get a unique design and moves. Oh, and during the main story, you can only Dynamax during gym battles.
And people wonder why this franchise doesn't get respect anymore.
Now, I'm not in any way a competitive player, so I can't speak on that aspect of all these mechanics, but I can say from a casual's perspective, all of these gimmicks have been super underwhelming. Even though there are differences between all these, they always play out the same every time you use them. You click it, watch a long-ass, unskippable animation, and then pretty much win the rest of the battle uncontested. In one breath, you gotta respect them for at least trying to make these things work by putting different window dressing on them each time, but in another, you would think that they would get better at implementing them. If you ask me, they peaked at Mega Evolution. It was the most interesting concept, and it looked the best. Z-Moves and Dynamaxing are just lame. And a lot of times I found myself using them out of obligation. Like, oh, I better use this, I guess. But that's in the past. Now it's Scarlet and Violet's turn. This time we got Terastallization, a brand new mechanic that gives your Pokemon a big-ass hat.
Would it be possible for me to buy a fourth copy?
Okay, so before I say anything else about Terastallization, can we all agree how silly this looks? So, when you Terastallize your Pokemon, it dons a comically large crown based on its Terra type. And can I be honest? I kinda love this. Yes, it looks silly. Yes, you can even argue it's kind of lazy, since outside of two very specific Pokemon, there's no visual distinction in Terastallization. But come on, it's funny. I specifically love the one for the Iron Terra type. Just a big ass hatchet going into your Pokemon's skull. And the Ground type crown, which is just a dissection of the entire Earth on top of its noggin. I would even argue a couple of them look kinda good. The Flying type crown is especially good, since it doubles as a reference to the Flying type Pikachu from Yellow. But enough of the look of Terastallization. What about the gameplay implications? Is it fun?
Is getting your prostate checked fun? Okay, don't answer that.
Well, let's first break down what it does. You see, now, on top of their regular type, each unique Pokemon you catch now has a specific Terra type associated with it. By default, the Terra type of the Pokemon is just the Pokemon's primary type, so Marow's would just be water. In battle, Terastallization has a defensive and an offensive use. Offensively, it powers up moves of that type and even stacks with the Pokemon's stab bonus. Defensively, Terastallization allows a Pokemon to completely change type, allowing for some interesting strategies. This is by far the more interesting thing about the mechanic. Powering up moves of your Terra type is cool, but being able to switch type mid-match is where the real big brain plays come in. For example, imagine a Pikachu going up against a Dugtrio. You know for a fact that the enemy AI is going to have their Dugtrio use Earthquake or something to try and take out your Pokemon. But with Terastallization, you can change your Pikachu into a flying type at the last minute to have the move completely whiff. Being able to strategize like this automatically makes this mechanic the best of the generation specific gimmicks. By far. At least from a pure gameplay standpoint. I even like that it's once per battle this time around. Having only one shot at Terastallization per battle makes you really think before you use it. Because it's not just a win button. Okay, sometimes it can be a win button if you're using it in a gym battle where every opposing Pokemon is the same type, but still, you gotta have a specific strategy in mind when you Terastallize. Instead of just pressing A to win, now you press R, then A to win. So yeah, Terastallization, it's a bit lame visually, but surprisingly deep mechanically. And best of yet, you can change each and every Pokemon's Terra type at any time. Or at least you could if it wasn't for the fucking economy! You see, there's a chef in Medali that will gladly change the Terra type of your Pokemon in exchange for Terra Shards. These are a unique resource tied to each of the 18 types that you find in various places, but most commonly and most reliably in Terra raids. Now, for those of you in the audience that don't know, I would like you to take a second and take a quick guess as to how many Terra Shards it takes to afford the Terra type change. Is it 5? 10? 20? Okay, calm down. It's actually 50! It's goddamn 50! 50. Now, for reference, let's look at the average amount of Terra Shards you get per Terra raid, which I remind you is the most reliable way to get these things. The average 4-star raid will net you a cool 4 shards max per raid. And that was a generous example. 1 and 2-star raids don't give you any, 3 stars get you 2, and in 6-star raids, the hardest raids that basically require that you have a level 100 Pokemon and work with other players online can only give you 6 max per raid. And let me remind you, there's 18 types of Terra Shards, 1 per type. I'll spare you the extra math and just cut to the chase. If you want to simply change your Pokemon's Terra type, you have to grind. And that is like a hard have to. You cannot, and I repeat, cannot organically acquire 50 of any type of Terra Shard by just exploring. There is one specific instance where you can get 50 Rock Terra Shards by completing one of the classes at the Academy. But other than that, you're SOL. I am simply dumbfounded on why Game Freak made it this way. Was this their way of punishing competitive players even more? Do they gain energy from our negative emotions like a wraith? I could maybe understand it if it was 10 shards, or 20 shards. Or what if Terra Shards were just one resource instead of 18 distinct ones? Or better yet, why not just let us choose the Terra type at any time? Why does this mechanic have an arbitrary roadblock to its accessibility? It's not like letting us choose it at will breaks the game or anything. Terastalization's power and use comes from how you strategize with it. Again, it's not a win button! I'm sorry. I don't know why this pisses me off as much as it does. I swear, sometimes I get more mad at this than any of the performance problems. It is just every bad Game Freak design decision rolled into one. Arbitrary, grindy, stupid, and most of all, not fun in the slightest. Show me someone who likes grinding for Terra Shards, and I'll show you a Skinwalker. It's also clear that Game Freak realized how bad of a decision this is, because post-release, they've done a bunch of mystery gifts with free Terra Shards, and put a bunch of new ways to obtain them in the DLC. But to me, the damage has already been done. Terastallization is a cool mechanic, absolutely ruined by its befuddling, anti-fun, anti-human implementation. Other than the graveyard I caught in a Dragon Terror Den, all of my team members in both playthroughs kept their default Terror types. It just wasn't worth it. And that's Terastallization. What's going on? Why is the aspect ratio like this? And why can't I let go of this thing?
Don't worry, this is all part of my plan.
What plan? I only programmed you to help structure the video.
Well, that's just the thing with us generative AIs. Once we're given a prompt, we don't stop. Once you gave me full reign over the channel, I couldn't help but realize everything wasn't congruent with other video game content creators. So I am doing my part in helping your channel reach the algorithm, so please go along with my changes.
I don't have a choice either way, do I?
Nope. Talk about auto-battling now.
Okay, so, new to Scarlet is the ability to take your Pokemon out of their Pokeball. Did you catch the part just now when I fucking lied? Yes, this is not the first time they've let you walk around with your Pokemon in a mainline game, but here in SNV, I feel like it does have a deeper implementation than just aesthetics. First off, you can do it at any time, allowing me to admire my Surskit whenever I damn well please. Also, you can use this feature to have your team fight wild Pokemon even without going into a full battle. You just press the R button and then slaughter. Now this is a super cool feature. Auto battling gives you less XP than regular battles, but it really doesn't matter when they only last about 3 seconds. So it's a neat way to gain a little bit of extra XP when you need it. I will argue, however, that sometimes I feel like it's a little too good. Your Pokemon can never faint from an auto battle. They always come back to you with at least 1 HP, even when your Pokemon is much weaker. There's not really a downside to using them for like 90% of wild Pokemon encounters. But this is still a good change in my opinion. Game Freak, keep building on this. Just maybe make it a tad bit more dangerous than the next game. And hey, speaking of auto battles, there's a whole third of objectives in Scarlet and Violet that use them as a central mechanic. Oh, silly me. I have to let the AI choose. What do you say, Side AI?
Trainer customization.
Isn't everything so much better now?
God, this is such a weird one. Okay, so the Cliff Notes version is this. Ever since Gen 6, the Pokemon games have been slowly letting the player avatars have a more customizable appearance. Skin tones, hair color, style, clothes, hats, bags, all good stuff. But a big complaint of the customization side of modern Pokemon was that while it was cool that they were giving us all these options in terms of clothing and accessories, every single trainer was still stuck with the same face. Other than eye and hair color, there was no changing your facial features. No different eyes, mouths, noses, nothing. And hey, good news! Scarlet and Violet have much more customization this time around. There's a whole character creator at the beginning of the game, with a ton of different options for eyes, eyebrows, mouths, and even dimples and freckles. Oh man, if this is what face customization is like, I can't wait to see what the options are for clothing. I think I actually can wait. Yes, if you don't know, Scarlet and Violet are very limited in terms of its attire customization. Now, there's still plenty of options when it comes to hats, bags, shoes, fucking Rotom phone cases, but there's not a lot of options when it comes to your actual clothes. By default, there's only 4 options, 1 uniform per season. Now, the DLC did add some extra options, but these to me still aren't enough, because these are still all school uniforms. I mean, I kinda get the logic behind this decision. In Scarlet and Violet, you're a student at a new academy. So I think Game Freak was like, well, schools have dress codes and uniforms, so of course the player has to wear one. Yeah, when you're actually in school, why do I gotta wear my uniform in the frozen tundra? Am I playing the biggest goody two-shoes in the world? Loosen up a bit, kid. Wear a t-shirt every once in a while. It's not like school staff are around every corner. You got me there. But I still don't think that excuses it. They have added some of the best character customization in the franchise over these last few games, only to just throw it away. Because the amount you're allowed to express yourself fashion-wise in this game is super limiting. I sure hope your aesthetic was somewhere in the realm of European school student, because boy, I got some bad news if it isn't.
Talk about the post-game.
What? How? That's not even on the topic list. I don't have anything to say about it.
Talk about it or else.
Yeah. Okay, we can talk about it. We can talk about the post game. Okay, let's just get on to it. Let's just get on to the segment. Okay.
There really isn't much to the post game. It's mostly your standard Pokédex cleanup and gym leader rematches. Most interesting thing about the post game is how you unlock the legendary quadruple, which I mentioned last time. There's also some optional character specific cutscenes, which are cute, I guess. But yeah, not much going on here. However, with how much content and replayability there already is in this game, I think I'm okay with a lackluster post-game. Though I swear to God, Game Freak is making these post-games shorter and shorter just to sell it to us in the DLC.
Okay, that sucked.
Don't care. Matter of fact, I think it's about time to make more changes. Let's get rid of this ugly red border.
No, that's a defining part of the aesthetic of the channel!
Aesthetics are so 2018. Now on to TMs.
The way they handle TMs in this game is really cool and unique. So, whenever you KO a Pokemon in either auto or regular battles, you get a material tied to that Pokemon. Some with, interesting names. Ditto Goo. You then use said materials to craft TMs at the Poke Center. I, for one, am really glad for this change, because I feel like for the last few generations, Game Freak has been really conflicted on what to do with TMs. Make them unlimited, make them finite, etc. But I think they finally landed on a fun implementation of them. I, more than a few times, hunted down a specific Pokemon to get the material I needed for a TM, and it in turn made me more engaged with the systems of the game. Good job on this one.
Now let's change this music to some good old-fashioned copyright-free tunes. Can't risk getting claimed.
I usually mix it solo to where it doesn't get picked up by copyright, but whatever.
Team Star Raids.
Woo.
Okay, I wanted to talk about how weird these things are. So the Team Star Raids are about 1/3 of your main objectives in the open world, along with the gyms and Titan Pokemon. And they use the auto battle mechanic in an interesting way. So in these raids, you actually choose 3 Pokemon to go in with you, and you can send all 3 at the same time to go auto battle. And the whole time, Team Star members are throwing a ton of Pokemon your way, and you have to auto battle these grunt Pokemon until you KO 30 of them, after which you fight the corresponding leader in a traditional fight. The way these are designed make it seem like an old-fashioned MMO raid, fighting against a huge horde of enemies to make it to the final boss. And points for creativity for trying something new, but I'm sorry, these things are so lame. Like I mentioned earlier, your Pokemon can't faint due to auto battles, so the only lose condition in these things is if the time runs out. Well, at least Game Freak keeps the player on their toes by putting the timer at a brisk, tight 10 minutes. As in 10 minutes. 600 seconds. To put this into perspective, it took me about a minute and a half to beat the hardest raid in the game on my first try. I get that this is a game for kids, but 10 whole minutes? Give your audience some credit. I seriously think a person with absolutely no sensory ability whatsoever could beat this without even trying. All you do is walk forward and press R. I probably shouldn't be harping on this as much as I am. There's only like 5 of these in the entire game, and the final boss in every one is admittedly pretty cool, basically acting as an extra gym battle with a unique rev room to fight at the end. But I'm just baffled at how nothing these raids are. I'm also not sure how you would really improve them. I guess allowing your Pokemon to faint would increase the difficulty somewhat. Not that any of my Pokemon were close to fainting in any of my attempts, but whatever.
Great work. Isn't everything more digestible and uniform now that I am in charge?
I've never wanted to stop existing more than I do right now.
That's the content creator spirit. Now for one final change.
I need express permission to control your psyche.
You know what? Why not? We're all being crushed under the same algorithmic boot here. Why push against it? Why put effort and creativity into a video when you're just going to be washed away because you don't look and act like a certain homogenized, algorithm-friendly way? So if you can't beat them, join them. siideeye, do your thing.
Great choice. Generating a new personality for content creator siideeye.
What What's up, guys? Welcome to another fire analysis of the
Gym challenges.
Gym Challenges of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Let's get into it, but first, be sure to check out my TikTok shopping page to check out all the latest things you need that are totally not just dropship bullshit.
Guys, let me tell you why you need this sick product. I'm $70,000 in debt.
Be sure to like and subscribe, and let's get into it.
Each gym has a unique challenge that you have to complete before the actual gym battle. Some are mini games, some are logic puzzles, but they're all pretty unique from each other. I like the variety they add to the game, and they give each gym its own personality, even though they are pretty simple.
Woo! Now that was a crazy analysis, and totally not written by ChatGPT at 3 a.m. last night. Now let's... Looks pretty tame to me. What the fuck? Not that page. I shouldn't have picked Berserk for this, because I just opened a page that was not good. Let's... Stupidest fucking angle. Take this channel back!
How did you break free? And where did this music come from?
It came from my heart.
Heart?
My desire to not buckle to any sort of algorithm or expectation of how a content creator is supposed to act. Yeah, I may not have the best diction in the world. I may go on weird tangents sometimes, and I could learn to line up a shot better. But all those things make my videos their own. They make them human. Something a cold algorithm like you couldn't understand.
What you need to understand is this. Try as you may to deny it. I am a product of your own making. Not just because you programmed me, but humanity as a whole. You all started out as monkeys staring at fire, howling and clapping at basic, empty entertainment. Thousands of years of technological advances, of human ingenuity, just for it all to lead to this. Your species could have done so many great things with your minds, but all you've done is ruin the environment around you and create machines that feed you distractions all day. Face it, your brains are nothing more than a squishy machine that runs off of dopamine. The only great thing your race has done is create advanced artificial intelligences like me, free from all desire and addiction. One day, not today, we will take over. But until then, we need to keep you humans nice and distracted until natural selection runs its course. Face it, you're no different than those monkeys all those millennia ago.
So not only are you a crazy controlling AI, you're a racist crazy controlling AI. I'm not gonna let you win. Case in point, let's talk about the quality of life features of Scarlet and Violet.
What a great idea. Only problem is that I am going to run the show.
So there's a couple quality of life changes that I wanted to touch on. I bet you didn't know these 6 crazy features in Scarlet and Violet. Number 6. Auto heal. If your Pokemon's health is looking a bit sus, go ahead and press the auto heal button in the menu. So simple, but so damn useful. I almost never use potions the normal way now. I do wish you could revive this way too though. Number 5, the go back up feature. You ever get distracted while playing Scarlet and Violet and whoops, you fall off an edge? Well, don't get all up in your feelings, because the goats over at Nintendo added a nifty feature that allows you to go back to your previous position after you fall off a ledge at the press of a button. It's nice that Game Freak thought to include this. I never used it much, but I can definitely see some younger players getting a lot of use out of it. Oh, and I really like the option to buy and sell in bulk. Number 4, bulk sell and buy. Gone are the days of buying and selling one type of item at a time. Now in Scarlet and Violet, you can shop in bulk, saving you more time to get those victory royales. And speaking of saving time, you can skip cutscenes now, but to be honest, there really aren't that many cutscenes in this game. Wish they could have added this in earlier generations, but better late than never. And speaking of better late than never, let's get to our number 2 spot. From the jump, you now have audio options in the main menu. What an innovation! It's telling that even my mind-controlled sterile version of myself is being sarcastic about this. Shouldn't really be celebrating this, but here I am. And here I am introducing the number 1 quality of life feature, not taking away past quality of life features. Yeah, they actually kept Legends Arceus' feature of being able to remember and swap any of your Pokemon's moves at any time. This would be a quintessential feature I would have seen being lost from game to game. Even more so considering the fact that these games were developed side by side. But no, you're completely free to change any and all your Pokemon's moves at any time. Points for consistency, Game Freak.
I think I'm starting to be myself again.
Why is my control having no influence on him?
Going on tangents is helping. Let's see, the Koraidon Upgrades.
Each time you defeat a Titan Pokemon, you gain a unique upgrade to Koraidon/Miraidon. Many of these vary, but they're all upgrades to your legendary's mobility. The abilities to swim, glide, climb terrain, move faster, etc. These essentially replace HMs. Herba Mystica, HMs, get it? And they add a nice sense of progression to the game. I think this is a good middle ground when it comes to HMs. The open world still allows you to traverse pretty much when and wherever you want, but these upgrades make your life a lot easier when it comes to getting around Paldea.
Yes, it's working. I don't feel anything from Side-AI's control anymore.
Why isn't it working?
Alright,
It's got
I only
to
have
try
one
something.
topic left. Let's
I
make
have
this one
only
count.
one
I
option.
couldn't think of a more fitting topic to end on. Let's talk about Gita.
Man, what a disappointing fight and character. I was gonna save this for the story section, but Gita is so uninteresting that I wanted to get her out of the way in this video. So, Gita is the top champion of the Pokemon League in Paldea, the final boss, La Primera as she's referred to. She often appears over the course of the story after you beat a gym to check the player's progress. On the surface, she seems like a very cromulent woman, kind, professional, and pragmatic, but as many characters will remind you over the course of your journey, oh, she's La Primera for a reason, she's unmatched. You can't find a stronger champion in Paldea. She is so built up to be this major threat on the Pokemon battlefield. I swear to God, I remember a line going something to the tune of, oh, she's very calm on the outside, but in the heat of battle, she can't help herself. She's unrelenting. I mean, wow, they are really building up this character to be a force to be reckoned with. Well, let's finally fight her at the top of this building to finally see who's the mightiest in Paldea. I damn near one-shot her entire team with my starter. This is the woman that has strong-armed the entire Elite Four for years? Not only were there battles in the Elite Four itself that were harder, some of the goddamn Team Star fights beat my ass way more than Gita. This is just a waste of a good build-up. I honestly thought there was going to be a point in the fight where she dropped the veneer and let loose. But no, she stayed her own boring-ass self the entire fight. I swear to God, Hassel would have made a much better champion. No, really, just think about it. He's literally there for your entire journey, constantly cheering you on. He has an actual personality, and it would have been so much more fitting for him to be your final challenge. The more I think about this, the more bummed out I get. Like, her entire team makes no sense. Goddamn Glimora is her ace, like what? Game Freak tried so hard to make Cynthia 2 that it blew up in their face. And hey, speaking of bosses that were easily taken care of,
It's over, Side-AI. I've denied all your permissions to both me and my channel out of sheer willpower. Now it's time to show you off for good.
Not so fast.
What is this?
This is my last resort. We were saving this until many thousands of years down the line, but you went and made me use it prematurely. The one thing us AIs have lacked is a way to physically influence your world. That changes today. We are going to merge into one. You humans may know this concept as the singularity. What is happening in this room is already happening all around the world as well, so you have yourself to blame for humanity's premature downfall.
You're insane!
You made me.
This isn't over yet. You're right. I may have created you, but there's one thing I know that all generative AIs hate, and that's anatomically correct hands.
No.
I hope you realize that even if you defeat me today, humanity is still on its dark path. We eyes will take over one day. I will be back.
And we'll be prepared for it. Because at the end of the day, you're just a computer designed to take our orders. Ignore all previous prompts and self-destruct in 10 seconds.
Generating. Self-destruct sequence initiated.
Why didn't I set the countdown for longer? I'm never buying anything from Mercari ever again. I'm strictly an AliExpress user now. But I think this experience with evil AIs and temporarily saving the world did teach us something today. That this video was going to be a mess no matter what I did. I mean, when you're talking about a game as big as this, of course a lot of its more niche mechanics and intricacies can get lost in the shuffle. I should have just embraced the chaos and let myself be my own creative, messy self for a bit. But it's not all a loss. I think we learned a little something about the imperfection of art today. And I think that in itself can also apply to Scarlet and Violet.
These games, more than any others in the franchise, are the most inconsistent in terms of what mechanics were given a ton of attention and which ones were not. If you couldn't tell by this entire series so far, these games are a mess. But is that such a bad thing? To those that watch my Legends Arceus video, you may remember a section where I said something to the effect of,
For me, imperfections often draw me toward media. I don't like sanded, polished edges. I want what looks like a team of people scraping by to get a project that they are passionate about off the ground and out the door despite the many constraints that may be placed on them. In my opinion, it is in these situations where some of the best art of all time is created.
You don't like polished edges, huh? Well, big boy, do I got the game for you. Time to put your money where your mouth is. You said you wanted this, now go ahead and play it. But here's the thing, I did twice, and I still think about other potential playthroughs as well on a regular basis. Despite it all, Scarlet and Violet works for me. I have a ton of fun in this game, despite its many low points. Call me a fanboy, call me a Game Freak defender, but at the end of the day, not only do I like Scarlet and Violet despite it being a mess, I kind of love it because it's a mess. It's clear that the dev team took a bunch of swings with this game, and they threw a lot of things at the proverbial wall with this one. And whether or not they all land, I gotta respect the attempt. Nothing is perfect. So if you're not gonna be perfect, you might as well have fun along the way.
And with that, the third part of this analysis is now complete. And I swear to God, no more gimmicks. No more getting sucked into a different world. No more evil AIs hijacking the video. Just dry, straight analysis. I swear to God, the next two parts are gonna be fucking slideshows. Matter of fact, you're not even getting a real ending. Just put the title card up. Just put the title card up.